Hi, my name is Allison Doherty, and this is my book review on The Devil in the White City. So, first off, the author's main goal. I believe that it was Larson's main goal to really call out a common theme throughout American history, and that theme is that we make efforts to keep up appearances but neglect to address underlying issues. Larson tells of a past America in the city of Chicago so focused on the appearance of prestige and grandeur that they neglect to address underlying issues. By telling of the past, Larson evokes curiosity from the readers and gets them to question what underlying issues our government today is overlooking or neglecting to address. Moreover, Larson keeps his modern-day audience engaged by adding the suspenseful Holmes storyline. And that brings us to the next part of the presentation, the two storylines. Larson first brings up the storyline of the Columbian Exposition, and he tells of the many challenges it faces with the initial placing of the fair and then the challenge that was getting architects to commit to the exposition, along with detailing about the soup for soil that is Chicago, the harsh, unpredictable weather, and the fair's susceptibility to many other problems, including the death of a key architect, labor union strikes, the economic disaster of 1893, and political turmoil within the city. And despite all of these challenges, the fair opens on time and is relatively successful, with it drawing in many visitors. And this is where Larson ties in the Holmes storyline. He details the construction of a sinister yet impressive building that Holmes uses as a murder hotel during the exposition. And here he's estimated to kill upward of 100 people, many of them being young women, in his hotel, in kilns, gas chambers, and other means hidden within the walls. The amount of people that were killed that would have gone unaddressed if it weren't for one singular detective really gets the reader to question the attentiveness of officials to underlying issues, especially considering that Holmes could have been caught much earlier if detectives in Chicago only took the time to investigate disappearances and even fraud. The next part of the presentation is the evidence that Larson uses. One key piece of evidence that really stood out to me was a quote from a former warden that Larson includes, and the quote is, "I think it is quite necessary that authorities should prepare to meet and deal with the greatest congregation of criminals that has ever met in this country." And this really shows that even despite being warned by a clear expert in this field, officials within Chicago had priorities that laid elsewhere, and that really led to the unfortunate case of H.H. Holmes. One thing that I learned about American history was the big impact that the fair had on the nation. More specifically, the widespread use of alternating current and incandescent light bulbs. Now, the fair really provided a chance for this type of lighting to prove that it was viable on a large scale, and it also proved that it was more efficient and more cost-effective than direct current. My favorite part of the book was the sub-story with the Ferris wheel. I really enjoyed hearing of some of the outrageous ideas that architects of the time had, as well as the much-needed break from the despair that plagued this book. The story of the Ferris wheel was relatively successful, and even when struck broadside with large gusts of wind, the Ferris wheel held up, and I just found it a light part in a pretty dark book, and so I really enjoyed that. And my least favorite part of the book was whenever Larson details the killing of Julia Connors and how after Holmes had killed her with chloroform, he skinned her. And I kind of have a weak stomach and low tolerance for gruesome and scary things, so that part of the book I did not particularly enjoy. A quote from the book that really stood out to me was, "The dark forces marshaled in smoke. Somewhere in the heart of the city, a young Irish immigrant sank still more deeply into madness. Closer at hand, a far stranger creature raised his head in an equally intent anticipation. I was born with the devil in me. I could not help the fact that I was a murderer, no more than a poet can help the inspiration to sing." And this quote really stood out to me because it really embodies Larson's ability to create suspense and really create that discomfort that thrillers use to really engage and draw their audience in. And I thought, especially for Larson's goal, this quote was really helpful to keep the reader engaged. My thoughts and opinions on the book. I personally love a story that has two storylines that mingle and create a larger effect. And I really thought Larson did a very good job at this, especially considering that the two storylines never directly meet up. And so I thought he did a very good job writing this book. One criticism that I do have is that there was a lot of extraneous detail that I didn't think really added to the storyline or characterization or tone. It didn't really add to anything. And so the 4 pages of details on flowers, I personally think could have gone. But other than that, I definitely would recommend this book to someone looking for an approachable book to get into historical literature. And with that, I think that's it. Thank you.